Hi, welcome to Adventures in Glass with Doug. That's me. We've got a really cool project today. You know that if you're a regular subscriber to the channel, we do all kinds of things with thrifted glass, and I hope it gives you some inspiration to try some of this for yourself. But as you know, it all depends on what you find and how you can put it together. We've done tabletop glass pieces. We've done tabletop glass pieces with battery lights in them. We've done just some garden sculptures. We've done some that hang. We've created some wonderful punch bowl solar fountains that have just, some of which have had solar lights in them. And of course they've had the fountains. I've given several of those to friends. They are delighted with them. It's all a lot of fun, but as I said, it just depends what you find when you go thrifting. And I do appreciate all of you who do subscribe and comment on things. I've got viewers from around the world. I've had comments from good friends in Quebec. I have some folks down in Argentina. I had some folks from Australia, New Zealand, a few in Europe. I'm just amazed at the reception of this, and so I hope you can manage to find some interesting pieces for yourself, and you can learn from this. So let's get started. What I want to point out is the outstanding piece here that I've actually found thrifting, and I found several other versions of this. Best I can determine, and maybe some of you can correct me, is there's a style of Turkish foil glass. I think because the backs are coated in a silver, I don't know if it starts out as a foil or it's just painted, but it appears as though, best I can search out, they're called foil plates or Turkish foil plates. And so we're going to use that as a basin for a short, small bird bath. So I've got some other pieces that I've recently found and some others that have been in my inventory for a while. So today's kind of a circular theme. I will say that I did a previous bird bath with one of these plates, and I think you will have seen it already. And I'm a little concerned about how well these pigments hold up in the sun. Again, I've tried to research it to find out how resistant these are to UV rays and that sort of thing, and I'm not thrilled with the idea that if I put this out there, that after 2 or 3 weeks in the sun it'll start losing some of its color. So I'm hesitant to do that, but then again, I think it would be too big for something just as a compote or a sculpture in the house. So we'll design this to be a bird bath, but one that's kind of kept in the shade out of the direct sun, and hope we get some life out of these colors. All right, so what are we going to do? As you know, here are some of the basics that I tell you about in terms of the garden construction or the garden sculpture construction that I do. I'll start with a base plate, and in this, just to give it stability and make sure we're not going anywhere. In this case, this is an egg plate that I almost lost to my wife, who said, "Ooh, that's a really nice egg plate," but we've got several. This is often used in glass flower sculptures. I've done several of those myself. I get a little discouraged about the way to mount them on the back and on re-rod, and I've had several of them fall off of the walls that I've put them on, so I'm not as excited about that, but I know people do, because you can add color to the outer petals. You can build out your flower from here. There are some remarkable sculptures people use, but I'm going to use that as a base today. I'm going to put it on one of my working tools here, which is a turntable, which really helps me understand if I'm symmetrical and how my piece is doing, how centered up it is. Okay, so on my moving turntable over here, we have what will be our next piece that I'm going to fasten on. Now this is the only tricky part, and by tricky I mean we're going to, given the fact that this is a textured bottom on the egg plate with the cut glass and that sort of thing, it's not a smooth surface to connect. So I'm probably going to have to be a little bit generous with my silicone, and I'm going to find myself with some gaps in here, which I don't usually like to do because you end up with a lot more silicone to try and make sure you have it watertight. But I also like this Hurricane, which is just, I think it's gorgeous, and it's got circles that kind of go with what we're looking at here, and those are probably pieces of shell, I guess, maybe abalone, I'm not entirely sure. They look cool. So we're going to put that on. We're going to end up putting this basin on top, but I needed something else just to set it off a little bit, and I found this votive, which I thought really helped set it off. It's in the same color range, and it's going to prop it up just a little bit more, and then if I can get all this centered up, we're going to put the glass, Turkish glass, on top of that. So that's the game plan. I'm not sure the sequence, but I think the very first thing we have to do is to get this part set. So let me get my tube of silicone, and remember, I use 100% silicone. It's available on a link in my description. Go ahead and order that. I've bought it from the hardware store, a tube or two at a time, and sometimes I think it sits on the shelf too long because I've had some dry, hard bits in it that really make it difficult sometimes to get a nice smooth bead. This I've had no problems with that I ordered through Amazon. Okay, so you know the drill. I use the silicone. I don't use epoxy. We're going to run that around the rim. This is a construction where the turntable comes in very handy because you do need to make sure you're centered up, as well as making sure that you can get the silicone down into all of the gaps. I think we'll let all of that dry before we try and put the final piece on the top and finish it up and then show you what it looks like outside. I do appreciate you sticking with this. Stay to the end to see the reveal, and sign up, like, do all those good things so that I can build my subscriber base and continue to do this. Thanks. While we wait for some of my projects to dry, got a question for you, and give me some comments back. I've got a number of cigar boxes that I've picked up from our local liquor store, and I just can't see these getting trashed, but I'm not entirely sure what to do with them yet. There's some of them have been kind of ripped apart, but most of them are in pretty good shape. They've got their hinges on them still, and some of their advertising on them. But I've looked up different things to do with cigar boxes, and I need some ideas. I want to get started with doing something with all of these. I must have about a dozen or more, different shapes and sizes. So if you've got some ideas as to what to do with cigar boxes, besides saying, oh yeah, you can make a jewelry box out of them. I don't really need to make jewelry boxes, but I do have a lot of these. And I mean, one of the things, I've done miniatures, so one of the things I thought about doing was little vignettes inside them, but that gets a little involved because you've got to furnish your vignette. But it could be something that I can move into that's not glass. So if you've got some ideas as to what to do with old cigar boxes, that could be my next series of videos. Let me know. Okay, I believe things have dried on this part of the base to where I'm confident we can go ahead and put that on the Turkish glass, the foil plate. I think I'm going to do this upside down because I want to really hit the mark here. So I'm going to put the silicone on this structure and then flip it over onto our plate. Want to make sure it's good and solid. Let me tilt this down a little bit. So we will let that dry upside down and we'll give the big reveal. Make sure you stay to the end so you get to see how beautiful it looks. Well, as you can see, we really have a beautiful piece here. This has all dried and I thought, well, I'm done. Except that I did find that I had this sphere that to me just went perfectly with all this. So I think what I'm going to do, despite the fact that this is going to be a bird bath of some sort, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the center because it just goes so perfectly. Now it does have a little bit of a hole that was a construction hole, if you will. And since it's going to be sitting in water, I want to make sure that and the other spots that it has are completely sealed up. Okay. And I believe, I'll show you with some water in it later, I believe we're there. Looks pretty amazing to me. It just really lucked out in terms of the colors. I am going to try to make sure that this stays pretty much in the shade so we don't fade out the ink colors, but I'll put some water in it after it dries and you can see it shimmer